Thanks for tuning in. 30 minutes from now, an emergency meeting of the Commons Ethics Committee will get underway in Ottawa. They'll decide whether Mario Dion should be called to testify. He's the Ethics Commissioner whose report last week deemed Prime Minister Trudeau did indeed violate the Conflict of Interest Act in the SNC-Lavalin affair. However, some are already suggesting today's result is a foregone conclusion. Here's why. The committee's made up of 10 MPs, 6 of whom are Liberals. The prevailing theory is that those 6 Liberals will use their majority to vote down the idea in an effort to keep the controversy out of the public sphere, with just over 8 weeks to go until the federal election. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer commented this morning.
We cannot have someone who will stare down the barrel of a camera and tell things that he knows to be false, to spread falsehoods. We can't have someone who believes that he's above the law or believes that there's one set of rules for hardworking Canadians and another set of rules for people who are powerful and have special access to the Prime Minister's office.
Scheer called on the Liberal members of the committee to take a stand and do what Canadians expect of them. For more on this, I want to bring in political analyst Michael Geoghegan. He joins me from Williams Lake, BC. Hi, Michael.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I would assume this is a bit of a dilemma for the Liberal members of the Ethics Committee because it is the Ethics Committee, and ethically one would think they would want to hear from the Ethics Commissioner. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. And that's exactly the test that they were being put to. Do those 6 Liberals on that committee act in a partisan fashion and not call on Mr. Dion to testify? Or do they do their job as the ethics members of the Ethics Commission and call Mr. Dion to testify?
Does it not make a mockery of an ethics committee? And I'm saying this in a nonpartisan way, to not agree to hold or to actually hear from the ethics commissioner in this case, if they do vote it down. I mean, doesn't that sort of make a mockery of being an ethical committee member on the ethics committee?
Well, it certainly says that that politics triumphs ethics. So in that sense, yes, it certainly does. And if by not calling on Mr. Dion, I guess they assume they're avoiding some explosive testimony. But on the other hand, the opposition parties are definitely going to take the Liberal Party, Mr. Trudeau, and the members of those ethics committee to task if they don't call on Mr. Dion to testify.
You know, we heard from a Conservative strategist earlier this hour, and I asked him similar questions. But, you know, what might we hear more from the Ethics Commissioner? Because we do know he was blocked by the Privy Council's office from gaining access to all the information. What could be in that information that could be so damning to the Liberals?
Well, it's hard to speculate, and certainly some of the information that's come out has already been quite damning, and certainly shows, that here in Canada, there's one set of rules for the wealthy and well-connected, and another set of rules for us ordinary Canadians. So I don't think that's going to go down very well with the voters. And I think in this situation, sunlight is always the best disinfectant, and usually politicians and governments get into trouble when they engage in or perceive to be engaged in some form of a cover-up. So, if they don't think there's a lot more out there that's explosive, then I think the wise course of action is to let Mr. Dion testify. But of course, if they don't, that's going to lead to all kinds of speculation like we're doing now.
Right. And everyone loves a vacuum because they just fill it with, whatever comes to pass. But it's not just the ethics commissioner they want to hear from. And that could be the problem. It's the Minister of Finance, for example. It's other officials in the Prime Minister's office. So this could open up a Pandora's box.
And that's exactly what they're afraid of. But as you said, politics abhors a vacuum, and it will be filled with speculation and innuendo. And who knows, information might come out from other parties. For example, Jody Wilson-Raybould, after initially saying that she had not been contacted by RCMP, later, did come forward and say, yes, in fact, she had discussions with the RCMP. So one of the shoes we're waiting to see drop is, do the RCMP announce that there's a formal investigation underway or not? And perhaps not calling Mr. Dion to testify will have some influence on that decision. I don't know, but it's interesting to, again, speculate.
Well, we'll find out in less than half an hour. Political analyst Michael Geoghegan joining me today. Good to see you, Michael.
Thank you.